Hello, and welcome to our lesson on customer and project team trust-based relationships. In this segment, we will cover managing conflict and team building. In the previous weeks, we have concentrated primarily on the tools of project management, how to plan, schedule, and control the work. Unfortunately, far too many project managers see these tools as all they need to manage successfully. They assemble a team, give the members their instructions, and then sit back and watch the project self-destruct. Then they question whether there might be some flaw in the tools. In all likelihood, the problem was with how people were managed. Even in those cases where a problem with the tools may have existed, it is often the failure of people to properly apply them that causes the problem. So again, we are back to people. The tools and techniques of project management are a necessary but not a sufficient condition for project success. If a project leader can't handle people, they will have difficulty managing projects. Building an effective team begins on the first day of the team's existence. Failure to begin the team building process may result in a team that is more like a group than a team. In a group, members may be involved in but not committed to the activities of the majority. Teams don't just happen, they must be built. The problem of commitment is a major one for both organizations and project teams. It is especially significant in matrix organizations, in which members of the project team are actually members of functional groups and have their own bosses but report to the project manager on a dotted line basis. Promoting teamwork through planning. A primary rule of planning is that those individuals who must implement the plan should participate in preparing it. Yet leaders often plan projects by themselves, then wonder why their team members seem to have no commitment to the plans. All planning requires some estimating, how long a task will take, given the availability of certain resources, and so on. When a manager gives a person an assignment that allows inadequate time to be done, the individual naturally feels discouraged, and her commitment is likely to suffer. Here are the 4 major steps in organizing a project team. 1. Decide what must be done using work breakdown structures, problem definitions, and other planning tools. 2. Determine staffing requirements to accomplish the tasks identified in the first step. 3. Recruit members for the project team. 4. Complete your project plan with the participation of team members. Recruitment process. In order to avoid conflicts in the future, the recruitment process is very important for positive team spirit. Here are some recommendations for that. The candidate possesses the skills necessary to perform the required work at the speed needed to meet deadlines. The candidate will have his needs met through participation in the project. The applicant has the temperament to fit in with other team members who have already been recruited and with the project manager and other key players. The person will not object to overtime requirements, tight timetables, or other project work requirements. Conflicts between individual goals and the team's mission. Experience has shown that team members are most committed to a team when their individual needs are being met. Sometimes members have what are called hidden agendas, personal objectives that they do not want anyone to know about because they are afraid other members will try to block them if their objectives are known. Since a manager should try to help individual members achieve their personal goals while achieving team goals as well, the team leader needs to bring hidden agendas into the open so that each individual can be helped to achieve his goal. Of course, a person may occasionally have a goal that runs so counter to the team's goals that no reconciliation is possible. In that case, if the team leader can discover the person's goal, the individual can, ideally, be moved to another team in which his goal can be reached. A manager should try to satisfy the needs of the organization while simultaneously helping individuals satisfy their own needs through participation in the project. Team issues. A team must deal with 4 general issues: goals, roles and responsibilities, procedures, and relationships. In this chapter, we have dealt with clarifying the team's mission, goals, and objectives. This is always the first and most important step in developing a team. Every team must deal with goals, roles and responsibilities, procedures, Relationships. Once that is done, people must understand their roles. These must be clearly defined. What is expected of everyone, and by when? The one problem that seems common is that team leaders think they clearly communicate this information to team members. Open communication and gathering feedback in the project team. The problem for some project leaders is to solicit feedback from team members in order to be sure that they understand. In addition, members themselves are sometimes reluctant to admit that they haven't understood. Project leaders must establish a climate of open communication with the team in which no one feels intimidated about speaking up. The best way to do this is to comment on the problem. I know some of you may feel reluctant to speak up and say you don't understand, but we can't operate that way. Please feel free to be candid. If you don't understand, say so. If you don't agree with something, say so. That is the only way we can succeed. We will be lucky to have time to do the job once, much less find time to do it over, because one of you failed to understand what was expected. Relationships in teams. Friction occurs in nearly every interaction between human beings. There are misunderstandings, conflicts, personality clashes, and petty jealousies. Project managers must be prepared to deal with these. In fact, if you really dislike having to deal with the behavioral problems that occur on projects, you should ask yourself whether you really want to manage projects at all. Like it or not, the behavioral problems come with the job, and failure to deal with them will sink a project eventually. One thing to be aware of is that many personality clashes are the result of people's lack of good interpersonal skills. Some may have never been taught how to sit down and work out differences with others, so when the inevitable conflict happens, the situation just blows up. The best way to minimize the impact of such problems is to provide training for all team members, including yourself, in interpersonal skills. This area has been sorely neglected in many organizations because there seems to be no bottom-line impact. As a project manager, you owe it to yourself to manage this aspect of the job. So-called personality conflicts are often simply the result of people's lack of good interpersonal skills. This lack can be resolved through training. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall discuss achieving commitment. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you on our next